Hello and welcome to She Leads Collective podcast. I'm Mary Gregory and I'm so glad you're here. This podcast is a space for honest conversations about what it really means to lead as a woman today and how we can all show up with more courage, care and clarity. You'll hear from inspiring women, powerful allies and bold truth tellers who are changing the game, not by playing tougher, but by leading smarter, softer and stronger. Hello and welcome to this week's episode of the She Leads Collective podcast. What happens when success no longer feels enough? When the business or career that you're in may well be thriving, and yet something deeper starts asking for your attention? My guest today is Carmel Saulbrey, entrepreneur, founder, owner of children's residential homes, creator of the Kindness Code, and now developing an AI-powered training platform designed to help residential care staff respond more confidently to some of the most complex moments that they face. But Carmel's story didn't begin in care. She built and scaled a successful business from photography to school photography, eventually leading a team photographing hundreds of thousands of children every year before selling the business. She then did something many people dream about. She stepped away, only to discover that purpose was calling her somewhere entirely different. Today, we explore reinvention, entrepreneurship, funding challenges for female founders, leading in emotionally demanding environments, and what it means to build businesses that create genuine human impact. Carmel, welcome to the She Leads Collective podcast.
Thank you, Mary. Thank you for having me.
It's lovely to have you here. And I think often with my guests, what I do is I go right back to the beginning. And I really think that that's very, very relevant for you because I know that you now own and run care homes and you're developing an AI app. But I'd love to go right back to where you started. And it wasn't really straightforward for you. So your career began in photography and entrepreneurship. Tell us about that journey.
I had done quite a few different things in my 20s. I married a photographer. We started a wedding photography business together. And when I left him, I left all of that. I left the family home. It was, I'll just say, not a happy marriage, shall we say. Kind of fled the family home, started in weddings. It was going really well. And 2 years later, I got breast cancer. And I had to go, I haven't got a business, I've got a job. So then I pivoted. I had a couple of dance schools, rebranded as a dance school photography expert. It was all around the time. So I didn't own the dance schools. I just photographed the shows of X Factor and mummies having, spending lots of money on their children and all that kind of thing. So became the largest dance school photography company in the country. We at one point had 300 dance schools that we photographed on their annual or biannual show. Then I got into school photography because a large local private school asked me to pitch for it. We set it up. And instead of just doing the job and knocking the kids through, we actually, doing it really quickly, we took beautiful portraits of the children. And that was a real game changer because it was something that was really scalable. And we really changed the school photography market because actually now the style of photography that we do has been copied by pretty much everyone else in the market. And it took a while to get that going, but we ended up, I exited fully about a year ago and on about 450 schools. It's now up to about 500 or more schools. Which was very difficult because you don't grow the market, you steal someone else's market share because I can't make more schools. I can only get the school photography contracts. So it's
very competitive then.
Very competitive, yeah. So, but I photographed 500 weddings. I kind of did all the groundwork. By the time we finished, I had sort of 40 odd photographers and wasn't actually taking photos myself. But I did love growing and leading a team and learning how to actually run a business that was turning, a few million a year. And so that was incredible. I was exhausted. I'd been through an awful lot.
I'm not surprised. Can we just pause a little bit because I'm curious about navigating divorce, which in itself is challenging enough, then navigating breast cancer, which again, I mean, I've not had a serious illness like that, so I cannot imagine how challenging that must have been. What kept you going?
I had no choice. I'm from New Zealand. I've been here 30 years. My family were good and they came over and supported me at different times, but it was me, two little boys, and a will to survive. And I guess my parents were entrepreneurial, and so I had that in me. Um, but I kind of wasn't. I've got a hotel management degree, so I wasn't going to go into hotels. So I had to make it work.
And I mean, you sound incredibly courageous, and many of the people that may be listening today may be working in organizations and find it quite scary to think of being out there on your own, creating your own businesses. You say you had no choice, but was there something else driving you as well?
I may be mildly ADHD and I love a challenge. I love the exciting and new. I love just kind of, I'm not a completer finisher, shall we say. So the excitement of the new, and doing, I was doing wedding photography initially, which so works in because you do one big day every week or two in the summer. So it really did work in with small children and working from home. I actually put a lot of this down to growing up on a farm in New Zealand and doing a lot of sport because sport teaches you that sometimes you win and sometimes you lose. It teaches you that you try really hard and it's sometimes painful doing the training, but then at the other end you get the payoff. And actually, I think female CEOs that have been had good sports careers are more likely to be successful at work and in a corporate environment. And I do really believe that learning resilience and bravery from a young age is absolutely fundamental. And and I would put some of that down to that just kind of innate bravery and resilience that it was forged as a child.
Right, so it's really was it's bred into you as part of your upbringing that you're just out there, you're resilient, you do what's needed to keep going, despite navigating some significant challenges along the way.
It's interesting, Mary, because I was so ill. I had 7 rounds of chemo and then radiotherapy and then hormone. I mean, it was a really, really terrible time. I had 4 weddings over my last 2 chemotherapies. The day after my last chemo, I got up, put my wig on, and went out and did a 12-hour day. And actually, you're lumping heavy cameras and things. It's quite a physical job being a wedding photographer as well as smiling. And this poor bride and groom had no idea what I'd been through the day before. Um, and just a need to survive and a need that I didn't want to fail. And yeah, I made it through and here we are today.
And you're still here to tell the tale, which is fantastic. So you scaled that business, you made it hugely successful, and then you sold it and stepped away. Many people would actually think that would be the end of the road. Just put your feet up now. You've worked really, really hard. You've navigated some significant challenges. But then what happened for you once you stepped away?
Well, I did. I thought I was going to live the dream. I had enough money that if I was sensible, I probably didn't have to work again. I knew that an opportunity would come along, but I was going to just have this wonderful life. And I'm a really mad keen tennis player. So I had a year off playing the ITF Masters circuits, going to these beautiful grass courts tournaments and living kind of a fantasy life of a professional tennis player. It wasn't that good, Mary, but I did enjoy it. I got bored. I got really bored. And it turns out in your 50s, you can only play so many hours of tennis a week. I wasn't really doing much. And I realized that you need a purpose in life. I needed some spark in my life, as much as this beautiful, idyllic life of holidays and tennis. Um, and yeah, and it really hit home. You need a purpose, but I did need a year sabbatical as well, I think, because it actually wasn't one divorce, it's been 2 divorces and breast cancer and a lot of hard work. So I think it was just my body said stop. And then I realized that, yeah, we need a purpose. We need to be doing something more than just for ourselves.
So that led you to entering the world of care. I mean, so it's really interesting because you moved from being an entrepreneur to actually purchasing 2 children. Is it 2 children's?
Okay, so they're residential care homes for traumatized children. They're only 4-bed homes, so just like a house. They're not a big, nursing home, which I think some people imagine it is. The opportunity came along. People say it's very, very different. to photography. And yes, it is. And the last 18 months has been one hell of a learning curve. But my motivation was I assumed it would be only women working in these homes, actually, because we're all girls. But actually, there's really amazing, beautiful, kind men working there. And these kids need to see what good men look like as well as what kind women are. And my photography company, I realized what I got a real kick out of is going, oh, I can actually make a really awesome difference to women's lives because I mainly employed women. It was school photography. It really did suit, term time only roles and things. I enjoy being a really good employer and making a fundamental difference to other people's lives because not everyone's me. They can't be a single mum and start a business and all the rest of it. But actually, I could be really, really supportive of women. In fact, when I had a new GM start, she said, Carmel, everyone's on a different contract. I'm like, yeah, but they're all different people. They've got different needs. Depending on the hours they were working, and there was always someone off on an nativity play or a sick child or whatever it was. But I got in return really loyal staff, but also I got in return the idea that I've helped people. And that's my, I think, really core driver. So I imagine these care homes, again, it was a lot of frontline staff that were good, kind, empathetic, decent people. And I thought, well, I know how to run teams and be really supportive of frontline staff that maybe aren't earning, huge money and as well make a difference to children's lives who haven't had the advantages that I had in life. So caring for large frontline teams was the comparable and was my main motivation.
Okay. So it's the teams that really motivated you as well as what they were doing because they were caring for the children. But I mean, you entered as an investor initially and then ended up owning the homes. How did that happen?
A friend of mine, who's quite a dynamic guy, said, "You invest, Carm." I thought, great, I'll do recruitment, HR, the businessy side of staff, non-exec director, one day a week kind of thing. And then it turned out his other businesses became quite busy. And so we made a polite agreement that he would sign his shares over to me and I would take them on. That was after about 4 or 5 months. And I did have a couple of people offer to buy them off me where I would have come out with, break even, not losing, not making money. And I did have a couple of men say, well, you don't know anything about care, it's going to fail. And that probably triggered something in me. Mary was like, no man tells me I can't do something. And then I had a couple of really incredible women in the SLT and they believed in me. I kind of, I had brought them with me and they believed in me. And that stuck around when this business had become insolvent, was quite toxic and quite unpleasant, and they were still there and they cared about these kids. So I think it was a combination of being told I wouldn't know how to do it, and that triggered something in me, and also this kind of idea of being really decent. And I'd done a lot of work, I'd met with a team, and honestly, Mary, in care, these people are beautiful. Like they are kind and empathetic and good. It was humbling. Like I'd never come across a workforce that were just decent. And a lot of them had their own trauma. A lot of them did it for a reason.
So that was one of the things that surprised you then about going into care was just how incredible the staff were. What else did you learn about residential care or didn't expect when you moved into that area?
Yeah, really humbling how decent the team were. I spent 3 days in the homes, sort of not interviewing, but having little chats with everyone, and I kind of cried with everyone. I was an emotional wreck. Um, and that these kids, uh, it's really difficult. It's quite confronting hearing all the stories and then seeing these kids, which are quite good kids, and then something triggers them and they're less, their trauma, using the right language, but it comes out in self-harm and violence and aggression and things like that. And it's really, really difficult because they're neat kids who just haven't had the right start in life. But probably one of the other things is all the lessons I'm learning in care. Behavior is communication, connection before correction. Those kind of really key topics are universal.
Absolutely. As you're saying that, I'm thinking one of the fundamentals of leadership is connect with people. It's very difficult to lead if you don't have any connection with them.
And be really curious. So when employees, their behavior is not quite what you want, and you want to say, sit down, this is what's going on. You take a breath and you say, well, the behavior is telling us something, and you ask questions and you be really curious and you connect with them. So it has made me a better person because I was, I will say dynamic, but probably uh, sometimes not a very patient person and not a particularly empathetic person. I think I kind of like had ideas and I wanted to push it all forward, but actually when you need to slow down, you need to listen, and you need to bring people with you. And and I'm loving learning about care, learning about trauma informed, but actually it all goes over onto what it is to be a parent, what it is to be a friend, what it is to be a human, what it is to be a leader and employer. And actually, I do a podcast on it called The Kindness Code. And I have parents listening who aren't in the care sector saying they have become better parents from listening about how we work with these kids who've had serious trauma, but it works across all walks of life. And that's been really incredible for me because I'm quite comfortable in my masculine energy, Mary, and actually I'm loving um, becoming a kinder person.
So it's kind of put you more in touch with the feminine side of
Yeah.
yourself then, and the
And
feminine side of your leadership.
yeah, which I definitely, I think I wanted to be that person, but sometimes I wasn't. And I think a lot of the leadership books is about kind of more and driving it forward and accountability. And actually, care is a very good place to do this. But our accountability chart is actually a circle of support where our children in the middle, then the youth mentors, then the team leaders, then the managers, the home managers, and then our ops and our head of care. And our goal is not accountability and top-down power. It's actually child focused, and you're a circle around your next layer, and your job is to support each other. And we have, so far it's really working. So it's not an accountability chart. It's quite a matriarchal. I'm going a little bit woo-woo, Mary, but
No, it doesn't sound moo to me at all.
it's quite a journey.
I'm getting kind of connections with service leadership. You know, the leader is the servant, that you're there to support and serve others. You're not there to dictate and be authoritarian over them. You're there actually to bring out the best in people. And to do that, you do need to support.
Absolutely. And this industry does kind of chew people up and chuck them out because it's tough. You imagine you connect with this child and it's all beautiful and you do all these wonderful things with them, and they come home and something triggers them. It might be a smell, it might be a comment, and then they smash the TV and tell you they hate you. And then that's a whole cycle. And then the placement might end. And it's a really emotionally draining environment. And so we've still got more work to do, but this whole idea that, you know, that it's just about supporting the people who, the closer they are to the children, the more support they get. Um, and it's a tough industry, but it's working and I'm loving it. And I've made some, fundamental differences to people's lives and improved their workplace and made it, altered the rotas so we can accommodate especially mums with young children because they are they're the ones that have the toughest time and getting ahead in their career, being really, really flexible around hours and what we do. And yeah, it's exciting that I can change a structural norm that is normal in so many environments. And care is the best place to be able to trial this circle of support as opposed to an accountability chart.
And I mean, care has got a reputation for being a tough sector, an unrecognised, underpaid sector. How have you taken what you've learnt about being a good employer into the way you run your children's homes?
Allowing people to have agency and having them fully supported, doing things from a place of kindness. Like if someone can't, we've got one amazing woman and she says, I go to church every Sunday. So she was only a bank worker. She was only she only restricted hours. And I went, well, hey, this is great. Someone that goes to church every Sunday has strong values and things. So we changed a rota that could really accommodate her. And that showing almost that leadership by kindness to say, let's connect, let's be curious. Obviously within reason, they still have to do a great job and that kind of thing. And then so my managers can go, oh, actually, when we show kindness, when we accommodate people, when we really do what we can to support them, and that mentality has actually taken a little bit while to change because the rotas are structured and they're in a rolling rota and you have to do this. And it's like, well, everyone has different needs. And some people want to work Saturdays because they went to church on Sunday, and some people want to work Sunday because they play football on a Saturday or whatever it was. And everyone, we can accommodate people. And then I'm doing a little bit more because I actually think there's this idea of a real kindness to the children. And it's like, well, we can share that kindness. All the stuff we're learning about the kids, sometimes we weren't really displaying, and I think this is industry wide, on how we treat our team members and our co-workers.
So you've mentioned the Kindness Code podcast, and you created the Kindness Code, and are interested. You're innovating an app as we speak. It's still in production or in prototype. It's still in.
Well, it's a
Yeah.
bit more than that, but yeah, we're kind of soft launching, getting the feedback. It's creating an app is one of the more challenging things I've done.
Right. Okay. But you're creating an app all in support of helping those that are working in care to help build their confidence and preparedness for the challenging situations they may have to deal with. So tell us about what sparked the Kindness Code and the AI training platform.
I was in a seminar and the AI guy was talking about different things you could do. And I thought, well, this isn't us because we need human beings in this. And then listening to him, and then something triggered that we'd had a beautiful young mentor had taken a child out, really connected, and the child made a serious disclosure, like told us that something very traumatic had happened in their childhood. And it was quite shocking. And this poor young woman, who was a youth mentor, had all her training. We do incredible in-house training. It's all therapeutic, all the different things they need to know. But actually, what was she to say in that moment? And there's quite a few situations in the home. And every time I went into the homes, the kids would try you out. They'd say things. And I think, I wasn't sure what to say. I needed to practice. So now what it is we have an AI child with a different scenario. It might not want to give its phone back or not refuse to eat or maybe self-harming. And then the learner can practice what they will say, and the AI will talk back differently depending on how they de-escalate the situation, how they connect with the child, and then they get a summary on what they did well and how they can improve. So we are finding it's really improving confidence, because it's all very well to sit in a classroom, but there's so many scenarios, there's so many different things that could happen in the home. So people are feeling a lot more confident on how to deal with the situations, on what to say. And because they're saying it out loud, it's very similar to what they would be doing in an actual situation.
Sounds like an incredibly complex tool to develop because, every child is different. Every scenario is going to be very nuanced. How have you actually developed it as something that's of real value to people?
Well, we've got about 70 scenarios and we're working on them. So something happened in one of our homes recently, so we could create a new one that was specific. The learner does get a précis of what's going on, and many of the scenarios are not wanting to go to bed. Last night they let me stay up later. Why are you making me go to bed now? So there's a lot of kind of scenarios that happen all the time in all the homes, and it's not perfect because actually in real life there's body language and things, but this is just one way of embedding the learning.
And
So
are you noticing a difference for those that have been uh, piloting the app? Are you noticing a difference in their confidence?
yeah, because if you say the wrong thing, you can absolutely escalate a situation quite quickly. So it's teaching the team to slow down, take a breath, asking the questions, connecting, rather than trying to fix. Like if a child said, "You hate me, you're only here because you're paid to," the immediate thing would say, "No, no, 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 I'm here." And actually, we're not listening, we're not connecting, we're not being empathetic. And when you tell a child no, you are minimizing their experience. So it's in the small detail, and what we've had, a lot of people are just saying they feel more confident, and especially when we can trial out something that's happened in one of the homes, they might be coming into a fairly volatile situation, and then it just builds confidence that way. And we've also developed a fast track for our team leaders, so we can do additional training where they can practice talking to another team member. So there's quite a few applications for it.
Oh, it sounds incredibly innovative, which is fantastic. And it sounds like what I love is that you've just named 5 or 6 different instances, real incidences that happen in the home regularly, and you're using them in how you're developing the app to support the development of your staff. So, what difference is this making for staff retention and overall confidence?
Staff feel valued, they feel more confident, and actually it gives them a way if there's something they're concerned about. It's been in the homes now only for a couple of months, but there's been lots of good feedback. Retention is really difficult in this sector, say for all the reasons we talked about.
You said most people leave within 18 months.
Yeah, I think 18 months to 2 years. I think something like 50 to 60% of people leave within the first 2 years. We have made some improvements on that, but life gets in the way with a lot of people because it's such a challenging and exhausting industry. So it's been really good. We've got our fast track programs. So the people we want to really say as our emerging leaders are feeling extra valued. So it's been going extremely well. Again, but it's just launching a SaaS product is hard because there is so much training in the space. Everyone is so busy and getting that cut through. But we've got a few people who are using it now in their homes, and we're getting good feedback. So exciting to be doing something that's using AI for good and making a difference.
Very much a great example of using AI for good. And also, what I'm hearing is it's not just the AI app that you're developing, it's your whole approach to leadership and keeping it very personal and flexible depending on what people's needs are, because you're employing people with really big hearts to do a difficult job. And you're demonstrating a lot of flexibility and care of them in order that they care for the children that they're looking after. I mean, if this works, if this app works, if your approach to leadership works and starts to get used at scale, what potentially would be the impact on the children that are being cared for?
Really much better outcomes because when I first got the homes, one of the team said something, just one comment, it wasn't meant nastily, and it escalated and that child's placement ended. And these kids often will have 10 different placements in their childhood. And so one comment that was not meant to be unkind at all made a massive difference in a negative way to these children's lives. So actually, it's almost the trouble with care. Sometimes it's not empirical. You can't truly measure it because if that child is with us for 2 years and goes on to independent living, or the placement ends after 6 months and they get another placement, that's really traumatic. That's really a massive life upheaval for these kids who have not had a good start in life. So if we've got better outcomes for the children, there's more and more need for this. And I think it would be fair to say there are some unscrupulous players in this industry. There's some really amazing kind therapeutic homes as well. And I've met loads of people who have those homes. So hopefully it means we can continue to grow and scale what we do and deliver improved therapeutic care and get people trained so that someone doesn't accidentally say the wrong thing and cause upset in one of these children's lives.
Well, that is just phenomenal what you're doing there, Carmel. I'm kind of sitting here in awe of the approach you've taken and the difference you're making to these children's lives and to the people who work in the homes as well, so your team as well. But we're going to move on now to discuss the juicy subject of funding and female entrepreneurship, because you are a female entrepreneur. And recently I had David Horn on talking about the funding gaps when it comes to female entrepreneurs, and that women only run businesses only get 2% of overall funding. So I recognise that obviously you've been down that road of funding, and I should imagine you've had your own fair set of challenges. Would you like to share with me a bit about your own story of being a female entrepreneur and going down that funding route?
Well, funny you mentioned David because he was a fundamental part of me exiting my first business, actually. I knew about exiting, and then he was speaking at a mastermind I was on and talking about scaling up and getting your business ready. So he was kind of quite instrumental in that. Oh, you can think bigger, you get your business ready to sell. And it was only about a year and later after I had the seminar with him there and read his book that I had actually sold my photography company. Um, I bootstrapped it all because of the photography, you did the work one week and the next week you got the cash. I could have grown it an awful lot quicker. The only loan I ever took out was actually over COVID, and I paid for a £100,000 massive big photo printer as part of the scale. Um, and I think I'm now in an entrepreneurs network sort of circle. There's 150 odd people, mainly men. And what I realize is I'm a brave woman, but I'm not very brave when it or risk taking when I compare it to successful men. And I believe that if I'd been in a better room sooner, I would have been braver. I'm really pleased I was in the room when I had someone like David speaking and understand what my business is worth and how I had to get it ready to exit. Um, and I think there's that. It's about getting in the right room. And we support women and all that. We want to be around other women and be supportive, but we need to be in the room with the men because they think bigger. They've got much better contacts. The number of contacts, that I was in the room, I met David Horn, and then um, I could find the right people. It was within my network that bought my business. When I was I bought the care homes. The actual business wasn't worth much, but I had to buy these two properties. I had to jump through so many hoops. And luckily, it was someone in my network that knew someone in my network that I could get a mortgage company that would there's only one in the country. And I do believe that, was it because I was a woman, I had to prove even more what I'd done, but also maybe if I had more property portfolios. So I feel that I never had to get funding except to buy the homes. And I feel as though if I'd taken braver decisions sooner, it would have been easier because I would have scaled up quicker.
So are you saying it's about women's relationship? I'm broadening it to women, not just yourself, but from what you've noticed, it's women's relationship to risk that is so very different to men's relationship to risk, which also impacts the fact they don't get funded as much.
Yeah, and I think about 6 or 7 years ago, the Rose Report came out, and it basically said that women, take fewer risks, and there's all sorts of things, especially around childcare and societal expectations. But actually, they take smaller risks, but fewer female-led businesses fail because they don't over leverage and they don't take too many risks. So they're a slower burn, but they're a much safer prospect, which is really interesting around this idea that only 2% of VC money goes to women because actually, yeah, they're not going to be a unicorn that explodes and is worth $1 billion overnight, but they're a lot less likely to explode and be worth nothing. And
So as a safe, steady business investment, women's businesses are actually a good bet for that.
And I don't want to sound it's kind of like blamey around women. I think it's societal. I think that we're not in the rooms necessarily. We are naturally more risk adverse. I don't say not all women and all that kind of thing. It can be done, but I'm shocked that I thought I was really brave, and when I'm around braver men, I realize that I'm brave for a woman. Although I have scaled businesses and done really well, and I've never been in debt, and I've not had it fail, so I've done well. Um, and again, I don't want to sound like it's blamey. Like we can't blame ourselves as women, but I think it's something if we're aware of the barriers, if we're aware of the mindset and some of the things we can do to overcome it, we can scale more quickly and we can understand the barrier.
I just hear some pros and cons to both male and female, actually, because although women may be more risk averse, they are more guaranteed to run a successful business. So there's pros and cons to each, isn't there? We
Yeah.
could, if we blended the two together, we probably have the perfect scenario, really. And you would hope fairer funding going on as well. But the system as it is very, very stuck, I think. And it's just for women just to keep going and keep supporting each other to make the success of it.
Part of my motivation to grow is because one, I want to prove that it can be done, and two, the more I grow, I have got men and women in my SLT, but I can really, my MD is a woman, my ops manager is woman. And so I feel like I can have quite strong impact and the care industry, there's a lot of men because there's a property developer uh, cohort in there. So I am motivated by proving it can be done, helping super track my SLT, the incredible, kind, caring woman, and also really deliver outstanding care that comes from a place of genuine care as opposed to bottom line motivation.
So you're talking about scaling your care business. What's your vision?
I don't want to put a number on how many homes because it's a really, really challenging thing to do. And it's actually really difficult to get the registration. But I want to be known as a really outstanding therapeutic care home. We've actually got little schools associated with them as well. And we're doing a lot of work on that. And I want to be able to attract people. When people are coming to me and saying, can I come and work for you? That is a really empirical, wonderful way of saying, I'm doing a good job. And if people are coming to me for jobs, it means I have a happy team and I've made a really positive impact on other people's lives because the word is getting out that it's a good place to be, and a good place to work.
A really admirable vision. I'm going to enjoy watching you get there, Carmel, because it is fantastic to hear that. And, when you look at your overall journey, what have you learned about leadership and about growth?
Um, the one thing I say to anyone else that's an entrepreneur, or not everyone thinks like you do. And actually, my MD is a really dynamic, incredible woman. And sometimes she's quite entrepreneurial, and sometimes she gets frustrated. And it's like, no, you think fast, you have ideas, I can see my vision. But we need lots of people that aren't entrepreneurial, that are actually the people that the workhorses, the people who love detail. I hate detail, Mary. The ones that really want to stay in their lane and do an amazing job at what they do. And so understanding that people don't think like an entrepreneur, and that's what we need, because if we had a world full of entrepreneurs, nothing would get done.
We need absolutely, that's the whole ethos of teamwork, isn't it? We need variety, we need diversity, people with different needs, people with different strengths. That all goes to make the melee of what makes a team effective, isn't it?
And everyone's strength is a weakness and vice versa. And it's understanding how we all fit in and having the right people in those seats. And probably the other thing I've learned, actually, the other thing I'm learning is patience and compassion. Maybe compassion less, but patience, to just take that breath, to not do everything in a hurry, to understand that people have to process the information. And I have been guilty of being perhaps a top-down leader going, no, I've got this idea, this is what's happening, this is what you do. Not the best way to do it. In fact, the amazing man that bought my photography company, and we had a handover of a year, beautiful, incredible communicator. And he sat me down for coffee and he was chatting away. And I said, oh, what are you here for? He went, Carmel, calm your shit. When you come in, just be kind and quiet and listen. Don't come in with ideas because you're scaring everybody. And I was like, oh, so yeah, maybe it's just old age, maybe it's learning, Mary, but
But what I hear is you've actually taken yourself on because your natural inclination is to be that leader that's out front, and you've had to learn to curtail that and to really connect with people and use compassion and empathy in order to then build your business, which is, I guess, is where the kindness code evolved.
yeah, and I think it's, the podcast is actually like a self-discovery of me learning and being quite fascinated about the care industry and about communication. And so that's why we did the podcast. It's kind of my live action learning. So I'm kind of loving that I can do all these wonderful things, but actually maybe make me a better person as well. But and life's a journey. So hindsight's 2020, isn't it? So but I think as long as we never stop learning and growing.
I think that's the thing, isn't it? We are all a work in progress for however many days we're blessed to be on this planet. We are all a work in progress. So being on that journey, actively embracing it, as you absolutely are a great role model of, Carmel, is a great way to approach it. I want to just conclude then. Well, actually, before I conclude completely, I want to just say, how can people connect with you and where do they find the kindness code? Is it on all podcast platforms?
The kindness code is on the podcast is on all platforms. The kindness code is just Google thekindnesscode.co.uk. I'm Carmel Jane Saulbrey on LinkedIn, and Niche Care Homes is on Instagram and Facebook.
Okay, I will put that into the show notes as well at the end of this episode. So, Carmel, I just would like to say a big, big thank you for joining me today. I've really loved hearing your story and your whole way that you've evolved as a leader, but also what you're bringing into leadership and into the business that you're running now. It's a great example of how to put your heart into it and really to look after other people's hearts as you're supporting your business to grow and look after those incredible young people that you're looking after as well. Thank you.
Oh, that's lovely. Thank you, Mary.
Thank you so much for listening to the She Leads Collective podcast. If this episode resonated with you, follow the show or share it with a friend and leave a quick review below. Or leave us a comment. Change happens through conversation, so let's keep this one going. Listen out for the next episode and join me as we keep lifting the lid on the stories that matter. Take care and keep leading with heart.